This is Roger Struckoff with Cloud Expo TV and day 3 at Cloud Expo, the 23rd International Cloud Expo here in Santa Clara, California. Joined now by AMITABH Srivatava with Transility. He spoke yesterday, so we'll talk a little bit about what the company does and then what you spoke about yesterday, and then we'll go from there. Thanks so much for joining us. What was your session about yesterday and how did it go?
So I'm a technology evangelist by heart and a coder to start with some 20 years of experience in cutting-edge technology. I've always been trying to be on the edge of technology, learn the latest and greatest things, and what and how I can contribute to the world with my knowledge of technology. And I love to talk about, speak in different engagements. So I've been speaking around the new technologies across the globe, and I've spoken in past in Cloud Expos as well. And this time I took on the topic of serverless computing, and we actually talked about the session was all about how the evolution of compute, how it moved from a single desktop to what it has now, promises of serverless, and talked about a big disruptive innovation. Like, to all of us who are being into application development, server, we were very, it's something that we love to have, server, client server applications and everything. And it's really difficult for big enterprises and others whom we work to tell them that go serverless. It's a big change for them, but it's a change that actually helping us reduce a lot of our cloud footprint, our cost, and I think this is the way forward. So I presented different use cases where having a serverless really helps. The typical IoT use cases of connected cars that I talked about, and how we have been helping some of our big customers here in the States to transform their old applications, the old architecture, into a modern architecture where we are modernizing and we are helping them move their big revenues on the new system and actually reducing their cost of the establishment.
You know, it's interesting when the term serverless first came up. People like me who kind of live in the research and analyst world and show world were like, not another term. But the reality of this one is it actually comes in and helps people. So what we've seen, we've had serverless on our part of our show for a relatively short time, but the interest in it is very, very high. And this show in particular, the interest is very, very high. So with Transility, is this something that you're specializing in, or do you provide or not?
Yeah. So serverless is a big promise, and all the three leading cloud providers, may it be Azure, Google, or AWS, they're investing heavily into these services, and there's a lot of buzzword, and people want to adapt it. Yeah. So though Amazon launched Lambda some 2014, but since 2017 when ThoughtWorks get it in their tech radar, after that we saw a good adoption. We started on certain modernization projects in 2018 where we were shifting the infrastructure to Lambdas, and now finally we have seen that they are in production. There are big revenues moving on the serverless things. And we at Transility, as we focus on next-gen technologies, we focus on IoT, blockchain, mobility, and cloud computing, where we are creating a lot of differentiated offerings that help our customers to do the things rapidly. Our engineering team is unreasonably fast, and we work with a lot of velocity and deliver to the customer promise of reducing their time to market.
So what problems you're solving? When I first heard about serverless and when Lambda came out a few years ago, we're thinking event-driven or event-based stateless applications and services. Is that it, or is there more to it than that?
So this was something that serverless started with. You have to have stateless functions, you have to have very small microservices. But now I can say with the advancement of the technology, it's very much feasible to have any application which you have where you can put the business logic in microservices, can be pushed onto the serverless platform. And we have restrictions like every particular function that we call can be stateless, or now there are step functions being available from Azure that gives us the statefulness as well to the services. And finally, with that kind of compute which is scalable, you end up reducing a lot of your waste of unresourced, like you pay as you go. So there are a lot of application use cases where we see that there are seasonal spikes of load, and to manage that peak load for a rack space kind of server environment, we need to maintain the server and pay for it for the complete month, for the complete year. while we are using it only on particular days with the full capacity. So the pay-per-use model of serverless is something that's a hit, and people are saving up to 60 to 70% of their infrastructure cost.
Yeah, that's the thing. This book, The Big Switch, came out maybe 15 years ago now, comparing compute resources to electricity and water. Not a direct comparison, but it seems like we're getting there. The granularity of the building now, of the billing, is what I'm trying to say. As I understand it, the billing can be very, very complex. But however, one of the original promises of cloud was utilization of your own resources. But then, if you're the provider, you want that as well. So we're finally getting there, and now what I've learned is that it's gone beyond the original idea.
Correct. So the original idea was just to share the compute.
Yeah.
Now it is going with the storage as well,
Yeah.
and people are coming up with very innovative solutions where you can have even moving it to the blockchain. Like from the cloud, the things are moving towards blockchain. As like for the IoT projects, where we see that there's a huge requirement of data storage, and there will be a time very shortly we'll see that even having that big storage for our applications on the cloud will cost us more, and the things will be moving in the direction of crowd-based blockchain distributed storage. So that is the future from serverless as we see going forward too.
That's amazing. Now, when you speak of blockchain, are there any particular blockchain technologies or other blockchain technologies to come that we haven't seen yet?
Correct. So on the blockchain side, we have been developing an orchestration framework called Nirvana. That's an open source framework, and that helps us quickly orchestrate blockchain networks based on private blockchain networks based on Ethereum right now and Hyperledger.
Yeah.
And going forward, we want to add more to that.
Okay.
And in that space, we see that there's immense potential, and the combination of IoT and blockchain is something that's going to be really big going forward.
You heard it here, the combination of IoT and blockchain. That's where it's at. I believe you. I think that this is great, but really it's so dynamic. This is sort of what I'm learning just this week. This is why we do the show, is get people together, all these big brains and all these customers that are telling you, this is what we need, So fantastic stuff. How can people find you? What's your website? Do you do social stuff? And then you personally speak a lot, and where are they going to find you?
Yeah. So I'm AMITABH Srivastav. People can find me on LinkedIn. And for my organization, there's a website called translity.com.
Okay.
So you can reach to info@translity.com or amitabh.srivastav@translity.com, or reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn as amitabh.srivastav from Translity Impetus, India.
Thanks so much for speaking at our event and in the past and today. We look forward to more of that. And thanks for educating me, and I presume educating a lot of people today about what's going on. And thanks for joining us here. Thanks for watching. For Cloud Expo TV, this is Roger Struckoff.